Hello and welcome to today's video. So this time we're going to be looking at 20 classic Dreamcast games running on the Steam Deck. Now these are being run through EmuDeck, which is like an emulation front end, and we're using the Flycast Emulator. Now I've never really used Flycast before. I've always used Redream when I've been emulating the Dreamcast. So the results were, on the whole, pretty good. But there were a couple of games which I think I was a little bit disappointed with how they were looking on screen. But on the whole, most of them were quite nice. As you can see, the Dreamcast is, it's a 20-year-old system. It shouldn't be that difficult to emulate these days. And most games actually came out really, really well. This first one here, and the first of many, many fighting games for the Dreamcast, is Capcom Vs SNK. Nice fun little game. These are the ones that I most remember playing on the Dreamcast. I did have one back in the day, and in fact I was actually in New York the day it was released. I was staying with a friend who was working over there, and he actually got one delivered to his house on release day, or his little flat on release day. This was a bona fide Dreamcast classic, wasn't it? Crazy Taxi 2. Always enjoyed playing the Crazy Taxi games, but I really suck at them. But once you get the hang of the controls, it's actually a really good fun game. Yep, good manic fun, that one. This is Daytona USA 2001. Quite a fun little driving game. This one reminded me a little bit of Outrun. Quite a boring old track, this one, just a loop, but I'm sure it gets better as it goes on. It's been quite a while since I played Daytona, but I remember it from back in the day. Now this is Dead or Alive 2. Absolutely fantastic, this one. Really, really enjoyed playing this one, and it looks great. One of the best looking fighters on the Dreamcast, at least out of all the ones I've tested. A lot of fun, this one. Now this one is Gauntlet Legends. Now I was always a real fan of the original Gauntlet in the arcade. In fact, if I had the room, I'd try and track down one of the original arcade games. I love it that much. But this takes the same principle, puts a 3D sort of perspective on it, and it's just like the original arcade game. You need to sort of smash out the spawning points, get keys to unlock chests and doors, It's brilliant. I'm playing the dwarf character here. But the dungeons per se, it's a mixture of like dungeons. There's this outside map here as well. There's quite a variety. And you can play 4 different characters. I think I used to play the dwarf or the wizard in the arcade. This is a schmuck. Once again, something that the Dreamcast did very well. Gunbird 2, not one I'd ever played before. But I always like playing new schmucks, but they're so difficult when you first start out until you get familiar with the actual layout of the levels. Now, if you have a look, this one's got those bars on it, and I'm not 100% sure why that is. If it's because possibly the BIOS that I'm using for the Dreamcast is like a USA one, a PAL one, or maybe a Japanese one. But certainly this, or it might be down to the ROM that I'm using, but certainly that doesn't look quite right. And this one's fantastic. I remember really loving this at the time, both in the arcade and on the Dreamcast. And I believe you could get a light gun for this, the same as the original Xbox. This is House of the Dead 2. Thankfully, you've got like unlimited continues, so you can just work your way right through the story, however badly you suck at the game. I absolutely love this one. It's really good. Even today, it's still great fun to play. Now, people ask me about my settings. This is exactly as EmuDeck has set this up. I've not tweaked anything. I've generally got my frames per second locked at 60 frames per second. And no more than that. I did actually film this one before I started putting the frames per second on my videos. But I didn't notice any particular dropouts per se. And this is a Japanese one, Ikaruga. Yet another shoot 'em up. Very tricky, this one. This was a difficult schmuck. I didn't do particularly well. And it had the option to play horizontal, which is how I'm playing it, but you could also play this one vertically, which is quite nice. Although the Steam Deck doesn't exactly lend itself to be stood on its end, does it? It's just too darn big. But nice that the option's there. This is Jet Set Radio. On the Dreamcast it was Jet Grind Radio. Once again, there's something going on with those bars at the top and bottom of the screen. I'm sure it shouldn't be like that. And using the Redream emulator on my Android devices, I don't have those bars, so this is something slightly peculiar, possibly to Flycast. See, they've gone now. It's a bit mysterious, that. So if anyone knows what potentially is going on there, do please leave a comment, because you'd be helping out other deck owners as well. This is one I'd once again never played before, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I thought, well, it's Capcom, it's a beat 'em up, how bad can it be? But in actual fact, it was pretty rubbish, to be honest, this one. Not one I'm going to run back to. And once again, look at the sort of frame tearing. It's just, it just doesn't seem to be emulated properly, does it? Not compared to some of the ones that we've looked at today. It's just something not quite right there. Sounds alright, plays alright, just the screen is slightly bizarre. I don't know really what's going on there. This is a cool one. King of Fighters Dream Match 1999. So is this really 23 years ago? Blimey O'Reilly. Still a lot of very good games for the Dreamcast, and it's an incredibly collectible system these days. I certainly love it, and if I had the space, I think I probably would collect the Dreamcast and try and get the library, but nowadays, physical wise, the only one I stick to is the original Xbox, for which the Dreamcast was almost like a little precursor. A lot of Sega titles, AAA ones, ended up going on to the early days of the Xbox, such as Jet Set Radio, Dead or Alive, for example, Panzer Dragon Orta. These all ended up as Xbox games. Now this is Marvel vs Capcom 2. Played this particular game on a variety of formats. This is the best one of all. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Really, really love this one. Played a lot of this. This is another one that made its way to the Xbox. And now a bona fide classic, Mortal Kombat Gold. Although this isn't the best Mortal Kombat I've ever played, that's for certain. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't... I've played better, should we say, you know? And certainly on the Dreamcast, it's got a lot of competition in the old fighting stakes, hasn't it? This is one of my top 3 favourite Dreamcast games, Res. It's sort of a rhythm music based shooter. You're on rails there, so you don't really need to fly around, but you get all manner of different opponents coming up to you, and it gets faster and faster, and the tempo gets faster and faster. It's a lot of fun, this, and I definitely recommend you giving it a go. The original's quite a bit of money now. I think it's about £100 to buy an original copy. But if you do get the chance to play it emulated, it's recommended, and it plays really well on the Steam Deck. This is Sega Rally Championship, and I'm not a massive fan of rallying games, but this one isn't bad. You know, obviously because of the time that the game was released, the graphics aren't exactly outstanding. They're a little bit boring, but the actual thrill of the drive is pretty cool still, you know. I think I spent more time off the road than on it. This is Sega GT, perhaps the most boring driving game I think I've ever played. I don't, you know, I'm not going to show much of this, to be honest, about 30 seconds, because it was pretty rubbish. I mean, it looks alright. You get to choose sort of, you know, traditional cars that aren't racing cars to drive, but it just seemed a bit flat, this one. So, yeah. Pretty boring, I'm afraid. I wouldn't recommend this one to anyone. This, however, is another Dreamcast classic, Sonic Adventure 2. Runs beautifully on the Steam Deck. Really, really fast and nice, bright, vibrant colours there. It's great. It's really, really good. Once again, it's one of those games you sort of need to have played a few times so you know the track. But it's a good one. This is pretty cool. Soul Calibur. This one played quite nicely. Always had a bit of a soft spot for Soul Calibur. The characters in it were absolutely ridiculous, including this guy. But I had a lot of fun playing this one with my son on the original Xbox, amongst other things, and this is one that we enjoyed playing. Now, looking ahead to next week's video, that one's going to be a Game Boy, Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance, like a triple bill, and I'm going to show 30 games, so 10 for each system. So I've been going through, at the moment, I've been trying to curate a few of my favourite games for each of those handhelds, of which I had them all originally back in the day, and I've got my favourites. So I'm looking forward to pulling that list together for you, and that'll be out next week. So if you've not already, do please make sure you have subscribed to the channel for regular weekly Steam Deck videos. I've got so much more planned. This is a fun one. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. I've played quite a bit of this recently, so I basically flew away right at the start, and they didn't catch me. This was the only game I tested which had a few graphical glitches, which you can see there. Bit of a shame. This, however, was great fun. So this last game we're looking at here is Unreal Tournament, and this had shades of early Halo, and great fun. This is, you know, just to sort of get as many kills as possible, and great fun. You know what you're doing with a game like this. Anyway, thank you very much for watching today. If you have enjoyed it, do please give it the thumbs up. Do please leave a comment for the systems that you'd like to see going forward. And I shall very much look forward to seeing you again in a week's time with my next Steam Deck video. Bye.